Hey everyone. Hi. Tam Veilleux here. And this is the first episode of Light Talk. And my guest is going to be on shortly. In the meantime, we're going to give people a few minutes to hop on this call. So here we go. Going to look for the chat here. I want to be able to see everybody in the comments. Make sure that if you are joining this call today, that you will hit the bell, tap the bell to subscribe to all of my future Light Talk podcasts. And you can comment all you want today, and you can share the video out too. Today's topic is going to be really, really interesting, but let's wait for my guests to get on before we start talking too much. So for those of you who are new to the station, I don't want to keep you waiting. I want you to know that I am an artist, an author, an alchemist, an astrology junkie. I am the creator of Energy Almanac, which is this little buddy right here. This is your book for the year ahead. Don't mind my Band-Aid there. This is your book for the year ahead. This is 52 weekly astrology predictions for 2025. It has in it not just weekly predictions, it has your monthly forecast. It has beautiful illustration pages like this. You have your coaching question of the month. You have your moons of the month. There's all kinds of work for you to do in here. If you like sort of a workbook, hey, I've got a couple of viewers. If you are watching this right now, go ahead and drop a comment, say hi to me, because I'm waiting for my guest to show up right now. And so I'm just sort of killing time for a couple of minutes. She's running a little bit behind. So go ahead and drop a comment if you would. That'll be super helpful. Inside of your Energy Almanac, you always have space to write and do your journaling. There's big work to be done. 2025 is going to be interesting. Well, as if 2024 wasn't enough, right? 2024, the year of the 8, the infinity loop. The numerology plays a huge part of the subconscious minds of everybody. So there's this influence of numerology running through our lives. And the year 2024 is the year of the 8. The 8 is about leadership. It's about balance. If you think of the two loops of the 8 is about balance. It's about money and abundance, absolutely, all the time. I have beautiful Sharon Little on the call here. She's saying hello from the beautiful coast of Maine. I agree. Maine is beautiful today. We have a gorgeous, probably almost 70 degrees. I'm excited about that. Tell me right now, if you're watching this, Nico, what? So excited to have you on the call. This is great. Nice to see you, Nico. If you're on this call and you read my YouTube description and it's talking about elections and we're talking about star codes, tell me, what is it you want to know about how using the card deck, the traditional card deck, can be predictive in nature? What do you want to know about the 52 cards in the card deck? What do you want to know about the election that maybe Karen might be able to answer for us today? My guest is an amazing, I don't know if you call her a coach. I don't know if you call her a reader, a card reader. She is that too. Karen Chabot Martino is an incredible human being. She's bubbly and vibrant. This is going to be quite a conversation. She and I are like two peas in a pod, and our energy is very, very similar. So it's going to be a really good conversation. But what I really need to know is, what are your questions? If you are watching right now, you have a chance to write your question in the comments, and I'll be able to help you with that. And also tell me, like, how is 2024 for you? And are you able to relate it to the almanac? If you're an almanac reader, Tell me how you're using the energy almanac so people who are watching this video can follow along with you. I was saying that 2024 has been about the energy of the 8 and the energy of leadership. And have you been able to step up your personal take on leadership? So astrologically speaking, Chiron represents your sort of your soul wound, if you will. And society is experiencing their soul wound in the sign of Aries. So collectively, we are healing that Aries topic. Aries is about leadership, charisma, bravery, courage, aggression, action taking. If you liken the Aries personality to the tarot card of the Fool, and in the traditional deck, the Fool is like jumping off a cliff, right? He's just like, go. He's young, he's spirited, he's full of charm, and he's just going off the cliff, and he's willing to take that risk. And that is very much Aries energy. And we are experiencing right now the collective wound inside of leadership. And if you look around the world, because this podcast will always involve sort of world topics, what's going on with the world, we are experiencing some leadership wounds. Think about it. Think about some of the leaders around you in local leadership. So we're looking at school departments, even the medical field. We're looking at government. There are some real struggles, I would say, some real problems with what's going on inside of leadership. And our job, part of our job in this time period, is to step up and lead appropriately. Are you finding that to be true for you? Are you finding ways that you yourself are changing how you stand up and be seen and be heard as a leader? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what your thoughts are on that topic. I know that when I look around, and let's just name names, right? We particularly look at the two people who are running for president, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. They each have their own leadership style. Is there a leadership style that you are able to relate to? If so, why is that? Are they marrying or mirroring value systems that you also have? Is that what's going on? And that's why you might be attracted to them? Do you know why you're attracted to specific leaders? Great questions for you to really, as you're wrapping up your 2024, good stuff for you to think about, right? Let me jump into the comments here really quickly. Sharon is saying, I'm curious about the number of new voters. My town hall has been very busy, and young voters. That's awesome. Really interesting, Sharon. I would guess there must be something collectively urging people toward this. And from an astrological perspective, I wonder if that energy that we're on the cusp of, the Pluto entering Aquarius, like full force for the next 20 years. I know that the energy is always felt sooner than the actual aspect happens. So I'm wondering if the Pluto in Aries aspect has kicked in and is triggering groups of people to get active, right? Aquarius is the group. It's humanitarian. It is social. And Pluto is powerful change, transformation, regeneration, rebirth. I wonder if there's some social power being felt and it's driving people to the polls, right? That's one way that we certainly could look at it. Let me check the next comment. And I'm curious if you see a landslide either way, something is bringing out the masses. I would go back to Pluto and Aquarius from an astrological perspective. I'm very curious to bring that question to our guest who is on her way in the studio. I promise you, she has sent me a message. Nico is saying, this is great. Thanks for doing this. I'm curious if America is still going through its Pluto return. If so, will that energy be at play with the election and America as a whole? Ooh, nice and deep question. So Pluto return. Pluto is in retrograde currently in the sign of Capricorn. Would that make it its Pluto return? It's still close enough degree wise, the 29th degree, that yes, we absolutely are feeling that. Remember that the 29th degree, the final degree of any sign, is what is called a karmic degree. And so what's happening now, this energy that we are in is extreme. It certainly is felt at a subconscious level. And I totally feel like it's bubbling up inside of all of our psyches and just waiting. Not waiting, that's not the right word. It's just happening for us. And we are going to feel it. We're going to remember this time period, put it that way, because anaretic degrees, karmic degrees are heightened periods of time. And so it's certainly a time period that will be felt. So it's exciting. I believe that these are times we never will forget. We are the chosen ones. We are here to shine our lights really, really brightly. It's why I named this podcast Light Talk. Inside story. I see my guest Karen is ready. She's waving at me from behind the scenes. Before I bring her on, she's ready. Hold on. I wanted to call this Fly on the Radio podcast. I've always wanted to do a podcast where it's two people who show up in a room and just have a conversation, and like other people just get to listen. It's not formal. It's more like me and my guest are having a conversation. That's what I want it to be like. But in light of the fact, that's a little pun on you light workers, in light of the fact that this really is about spirituality, it's about bringing light, it's about contributing to the light, I decided to change the name of this to Light Talk, but with this like subtitle of Fly on the Wall. Karen and I are going to have a conversation. I'm going to be checking out the comments over here, and we're going to go for as long as it feels valuable. Sometimes these podcasts might be 20 minutes because it's like we're having a cup of coffee. Other times we're going to go for as long as it takes, 90 minutes, an hour, less, more. I don't know. Joe Rogan goes 3 hours. For as long as the conversation is good, he makes it happen. He lets it happen. So I'm going to try to stay really fluid with these little podcasts and let it happen. So my friend Karen is waiting. She looks gorgeous. She and I have not talked about the plan for this, so I'm going to do that with you guys watching live. You are a fly on the wall. You ready for this? Here we go. I'm going to bring her into the studio. There's Karen. Hi, beautiful. Oh, I can't hear you. Let's check your audio. Don't you love it when it happens? She's going to check her audio settings, and we'll bring her on in just a minute. Give me a test. Not yet, not yet. Hold on, everyone.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's.
But I have feedback.
What'd you say?
I'm hearing me hearing. I'm hearing you hearing me. Get it?
Oh, it's an echo?
There's a slight echo, and in the comments, if you can let us know if it's okay for you, that would be great.
I can hear I don't hear an echo.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it anymore either, so that's good. Okay,
good.
Karen, so I just crushed 14 minutes.
I am so sorry. I figured what we did last time was going to be a repeat, and I forgot we were going live, so I figured you could wait 5 or so minutes, and like, I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. This is going to be fun. Karen and I are definitely two peas in a pod, and I can't wait to see how this lays out. So Karen, I'm going to tell you how this is going to go today. I know that we had like a previous conversation. Somebody didn't hit the record button, whatever, you know.
It was probably me. Sorry about that again. It was me.
It was totally me. And it's all good because this conversation, the conversation that you and I had 2 days ago was so incredible.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. And it was so, I said to myself at the time, oh my God, everybody needs to hear this. So what we're going to do today, we're going to cut out a lot of like the history of how you got into what you're doing. I'm going to ask you to give a synopsis, like a really short bio of who you are and what you're doing. And then I'm going to lead you through a couple of questions that I think is going to set this up for the conversation about the 2024 presidential election, who the players are, and what you kind of see playing out, because you guys, like, mind blown. This is so awkward. Like, this is so awkward. It's like this big flag every time I move my hands, and I'm French, so I speak with my hands. Okay. So I'm going to start by telling everybody again, one more time, this is my new friend, Karen Chabot Martino. And Karen and I were blessed to be introduced by another mutual friend who I'll have on another time. Carrie Rowan is a mutual friend of ours. And she said, Tam, you have to know Karen. And she wrote to Karen and she's like, Karen, you have to know Tam. So
yeah, she's awesome. I'm so glad that she connected us. And she was just a bright, shining light. Anyways, we should plug her. She wrote an amazing book called Tell a New Story. Yep. So I recommend it highly if anybody wants a transformation in their life. It's a really positive book.
Yeah, it's a really, really positive book. And she does an amazing radio show called Look for the Good. It's on Dream 7 Vision Radio. Definitely go check out Carrie's work. But really, this is for you to check out Karen's work, as well as to get a grip on what might be happening over the early part of November, maybe even into later November, depending on what Karen chooses to bring with us. But let's start again with a short bio about who you are, how people can find out more about you, your book that you have on Amazon. And then I'm going to poke you with a couple of questions that are going to lead us into the next thing. Okay, Karen?
Sure. Go. We'll just roll with it. So I am a astrologer, Vedic astrology, sidereal astrology. I know you do tropical astrology, and they both have amazing credibility. I'd love to learn more about tropical, but I'm an expert on Vedic because I've spent 20 years studying it, and I feel like I still am a work in progress. I mean, it's such an amazing science that it would take years to be really a master at it. So, but I feel pretty confident at it. And I did look at the elections through the lenses of Vedic astrology. It's very, very interesting. And I looked at Kamala's chart, looked at Trump, and I looked at the USA. And anyways, and then I blended that with the 52 star codes, which is really a deck of playing cards. And, I poo-pooed that whole thing. Cards, it's a 4-letter word. It's gypsies. It's, gambling. It's sort of a lower vibration association. So I steered away from it for so long. But then I decided after a long story I won't get into for very good reasons, it became very credible, this one book in particular called The Cards of Destiny by Robert Lee Camp. So I have to say thank you to him for writing that book in the 90s. Anyways, I blend this, and this system is literally an oracle. It's a divination system that is based on math and science. It is not, hooga booga, Harry Potter, and it's not a 4-letter word.
I love that word, hooga booga. I usually say woo woo, but hooga booga is good.
Yeah, hooga booga is, what maybe people could perceive me as if they don't really understand what I'm doing. I mean, I thought cards were, I didn't even want anything to do with this book. This whole thing was, anyway, so it took a while for me to warm up to it. And then once I did, and I opened my mind and I stopped with the judgments, I'm like, wow, this is incredibly accurate. And this is actually a science. And I'm all about science. I have one of those analytical minds. So each card of the 52 cards has a star code. So it's literally a mathematical formula. And then once you start knowing the codes for each of these, it starts with the Ace of Hearts, which is code number 1, 2 of Hearts, and it goes like that all the way to the King of Spades, which is 52. So these numbers, when you find out the formulas and how to blend them, you can come up with amazing, accurate predictions, which I kind of did here with Kamala and Trump and the whole United States chart and what's going to happen. And I opened all their charts. Yeah. And it was a challenging peek into each of their, I call them their astral bodies, because you're looking into how they feel when you open these charts. And I read at the feeling level, and
Don't go there yet.
Okay, I won't go there yet, but I do want to plug my book. I have a 5-book series called The Secret 52 Star Codes of Creation. It's on Amazon, and you can just start with the Stellar Guidebook. If you're confused and you don't want to buy all 5, start with the Stellar Guidebook, which gives you the kind of roadmap, and it's like the template or master book of the whole series. And then you can find your birthday in the back of the book, and then buy, of the 5 books, Hearts, Clubs, Diamonds, Spades, or the other 4, you can choose whichever book it is that is related to your birthday, right? So you were born on a, what was it, September 22nd, right? So you're playing the 2 of clubs. That day is designated as 2 of clubs, and then you have an internal self. So then you would buy the clubs book, and if that resonates, then you go on with your other layers. You might want to buy all 5, or you might be happy with just your clubs book, and that's enough for you. It was written for the average Joe to learn about themselves.
Okay. Wow. Okay. 52 playing cards, all relative to a specific birthday, a science, not an art.
No.
The ancient science of this. I'm blown away. This is really new for me. Everybody who's listening, like, this is super new for me. You know, every time you think you have it all together, you find out there's so much more that you don't know. And that is so very true of astrology. Like, and let's make this really super clear. Karen does Vedic astrology, the more Eastern astrology. I do Western astrology. Karen, in my opinion, is one of those people who can go really, really deep with what she does. I'm still really new to astrology. I've only been doing it about 7 years. I really like to keep it high level and at a sort of a succinct way of speaking it. I try not to speak about aspects and degrees too much, because I want people to be able to apply the astrology. Now, that being said, Karen, you know, you are a wealth of information, and you are able to do it. And so the first thing that I want to do is make people help people to understand that there is a relationship between Vedic and Western astrology. And that is true because, Karen?
Well, it's 23 degrees difference, you know, when you actually measure the sidereal versus the tropical, and that can change a whole sign. You know, that you can it's pretty dramatic when you look at it that way, but at the same time, all the planets have the same meanings.
Right.
So we share, you know, okay, Venus means this, Neptune means that, the nodes of the moon mean this. So we share that. There's really not a lot of discrepancy as far as how to interpret the chart, but actually the moment you were born in Vedic astrology, whatever was on the eastern horizon at that moment of your birth, and it changes every 2 hours, is what's going to flavor you or color you with the most qualities that are most prevalent in the atmosphere. So Western uses the sun sign, which is fine, and they have an ascendant. So there's some similarity there, but they label you your sun sign. Like, I was born in November, I'm a Sagittarius in Western tropical, but in Vedic astrology, my ascendant was on in Aries. So every 2 hours it changes, right? So yes, I was born in the sun sign of Sagittarius. However, since it's a 23-degree difference, my sun is literally in Scorpio, so it goes back a bit because of the 23-degree difference, and each house has 30 degrees, right? So I'm back a house. So I'm really a Scorpio, but my ascendant is Aries, and I really can relate to that. So I did do some charts on Western, and I did check it out to see which resonates more, and they both resonated as truth, but I had to say I'm more of an Aries than anything.
Well, so here's the thing, like, you have to pick one, right? You have to pick one that you're going to work with. They both work, they are both accurate. You have to pick a system, stick with it, and sort of put your blinders on to some degree, and just go with it, and don't allow the confusion. And that's what I finally figured out sort of this year. Was that I was like, oh, but Vedic. And I actually find Vedic probably even more accurate. And here I am writing a book about astrology, but Vedic is probably even more accurate than tropical. So Pick your system that you understand and run with it.
That's
Okay.
a great piece of advice. Yeah, just stick with one thing and become master at that instead of trying to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Yes, and spread yourself thin. But I chose Vedic because, yes, Aries resonated, but I have my master's in Ayurvedic medicine. So it was
important.
It lined up, knowing Ayurveda, and then, my first Ayurvedic health consultation, my teacher, Dr. Fasant Lad, looked at my Vedic astrology chart and he knew right away I'd lost entire function of my thyroid in this lifetime. That was all I needed. He didn't know me from Adam. And how did he know that? I had to drink this radiation from my thyroid gland, which killed it. So yes, that sold me. I'm like, okay, if you can do medical astrology like that in 5 minutes, then I want to learn this. So that was the passion that drew me there.
Amazing. Okay. Now that we have got that aside, let's get into this conversation. So I want to start, I'm going to lead you a little bit so that we can go where I'm trying to go here. Like I want to go back to, we all are represented by a specific card, star code, we'll call it. So I was born September. I'm specifically relating it to me so people can sort of understand how to relate it to themselves.
Yeah.
I am September 22nd. I would call myself a Virgo. I am a 2 of clubs in the star code.
Yes.
Now let's add in, who is Karen Chabot in the star codes? What is your card?
I'm the same card as Carrie. That's why we got along so well. I'm a 4 of hearts, 6 of clubs. She's the 4 of hearts, 6 of spade.
Wait. Back up. Give me one card. Give me one card that we need to remember.
So the external card, what the world sees, is my 4 of hearts, and yours is the 2 of clubs.
Okay.
That's sort of what is most visible in the world, what we shine out. And then the internal, almost like a rising sign, and it rules your life purpose and decanate, which is the career, is my 6 of clubs. For you actually embody the United States Constitution. July 4th is a day of the Jack of Diamonds, external, internal, King of Clubs, not to mention some other decanates that are very interesting, 2 of Spades and Queen of Hearts, but we can let that go. I'll talk about their decanate, the United States decanate ruling later, but you actually are an embodiment of what the Constitution was founded on. So you, on that day, the energies of the Jack of Diamonds and the King of Clubs was very prevalent because we signed it and we created a country based on that moment. And you, born on the external 2 of Clubs, your inside self, your internal self is very much about freedom and constitutional rights, and you would care a lot. And what I wanted to do when I was running a little late today, I just heard a voice saying I really should check your chart on the election because you care so much. And for me, I'm not very political, so I'm not that I put my head in the sand or don't care. It's just that I'm not wired to be someone that is a politician, or the kings and the jacks are very much about ruling and leading and politics, and all of them are reaching out to me, all the kings and jacks, all my clients, like, what's going to happen on the election? I don't get anybody else really caring as much. So because I read at the feeling level, you actually, if I pulled your chart and I looked at November 6th, the day after the election, I would know how you felt. And so at that feeling,
you'll have to do that for me later.
I will. I wanted to. I just didn't have time today, but that would be very telling.
This is so interesting. So Karen and I don't know each other well yet. I expect that we really will over time, but she literally, using this card system, the star code system, was able to totally take off the mask and reveal that I love freedom. Freedom is one of my key values. And when I'm always telling my coaching clients, make sure you know what you stand for. I stand for freedom. I completely and totally do everything based on freedom. It's why I make a terrible employee. I do. I've gone through jobs where if I can't lead, I'm out. I got to get out.
Yeah. You can't take orders. You don't need to take orders. You're a king and a jack internal. You are the leader. And it would be below you to be a subordinate. No.
If I can't have freedom in my schedule and make my own calendar, I'm out. Like, you nailed it with these cards. Okay. So enough about Tam. I wanted to sort of help them understand what these important cards are. You're a 4 of hearts, and then internally a 6 of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have Donald John Trump. So let's learn about him. Tell us what's going on in his chart.
Well, he was born on June 14th, and he's mostly externally the 3 of diamonds. However, he had to step into his exaggerated self. This is where it gets a little complicated, but stay with me. Okay. So because he wants to lead the masses, he can, and we all can. I can step into the queen. My exaggerated self would be the queen of hearts. I'm a heart girl. 4 of hearts, you're a club girl. So the queen of clubs is what you would step into in your exaggerated self. So we shouldn't always be in our exaggerated self if we can help it, because it's really not our authentic self. And that's okay for him in this case, because he is doing this for the greater good. So I have read him at his exaggerated self, King of Diamonds. I've also read him at his authentic self, so I can see how he really feels.
Yeah.
And yes. And then I went into his internal self, which his internal self is the Ace of Spades, which is very, transformational, like extremely powerful. It's literally the Pluto card of the entire 52 star code.
Oh, Pluto card.
Yeah, so it's very transformational. You know, the Lord of the Underworld. I mean, that's his inner self, and he was born on an eclipse. So he carries all this very transformational internal energy and a lot of luck. So he also has a decanate ruling card, which decanate meaning actually 10, if you break that word down in Latin. It's 10 degrees within 30 degrees of a house. So in his decanate, he has, which governs life, purpose, and career, he has the 9 of clubs, which is shadow card, because every birthday has one shadow card. And it's part of ourselves that we have to work on, and that is the Queen of Hearts. And that's one of the layers in the United States chart. It's one of the decanates. So interesting combination. Interesting how that interfaces. His shadow is the United States card.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What are we watching for with Trump? Are we watching his 3 of diamonds, or are we watching his Ace of Spades?
I had to look at all of them to really, it's like, you can't just dismiss one part of someone's self. I had to, it's complicated. So I had to look at all the layers and then piece it together. And what I use is the shadow cards, the blessed cards, and the stress cards to track how he feels. Is he stressed? Because stress cards can actually lead to sickness and death, because stress is really what kills us ultimately. And then the blessed cards are the higher versions of ourselves, our higher octaves. And the shadow cards are what we have to give our attention to so that we can rise up. So there are the darker parts of ourselves, that dark night of the soul piece. So I looked at all of them, and what I found was on December 5th, the election day, Trump looks like he wins.
November 5th.
November 5th. Okay. So it looks like, what did I say? Did I say December? December. Okay, because I'm actually going into December with this. I looked at all the very critical points of the election, because this system goes by time, by dates and time.
Before you go into the November 5th, should we talk about who Kamala is, or are you going to?
Yeah, so we can talk about that too. So Kamala, it's interesting. She, I'll tell you what, it was hard to read her, and I'm not really in favor of either of them. I wouldn't want to eat crackers in bed with Trump, and I value some of the things he did for our country, and I don't have any animosity to him or to her. But so I'm sort of neutral with this, and I'm looking at it from a higher perspective as what is happening in our world is we're going through a great divide, right? So our planet is dividing somehow into different dimensions, and we're doing this like earth purification, and we have to get rid of some stuff that doesn't work. And some of us are moving already into higher octaves where we can't even speak the same language. We don't understand the people who are at the other octaves, and they're speaking their own language. And this is why everybody doesn't understand one another, because we're just at different densities right now during this great divide. It's very cuspy, very hard. Nothing is grounded, and everything's a little bit delusional as we move through, because transitions are hard. So what we're in now is October 20th is Kamala's birthday. And that birthday is the Two of Clubs, like you. The Two of Clubs is the great debater, the great conversationalist. She's feisty. She's never a dull moment with her. And she also actually embodies some of the United States layers like you. So it's very similar. It's like almost a duplicate birthday in a way, but every 2 hours, the ascendant changes. So you're nothing like her. You were born at a different part of that day. Don't worry. And what I want to say about her chart in Vedic astrology is that all of her planets are in the external, because the external houses. So what we have is the diamond in the middle, which we call the Kendra. The diamond kind of represents the seat of the soul, the heart. And when there are no planets in there, it's a little unnerving for me to read it.
Soulless?
What's that?
Is she soulless?
Sort of like superficial, can I say? There's a superficialness that she is very good at. She sparkles, and she can tell a good story, and she can win a debate. She is the card of the debate. So with that, I found I had a hard time reading her because, you know, a lot of leaders and politicians can be sociopaths. I mean, maybe even Trump is too. I don't know, but I didn't feel that when I was reading him. Yeah, so when I read somebody's chart, I go into their astral body, and if I feel it, there's something I can't describe. It just feels like not real. It feels like it's something off. So, and then it hurts my head after a while. So, yeah, so I had a hard time reading her. Trump wasn't so much trouble. Though I don't know, maybe he is on some level a sociopath. I'm not an expert on all that. But the thing about Kamala's chart is all those planets on these superficial levels and the Kendra empty, except for the nodes of the moon, which is very telling because the nodes of the moon are, you know, the great tricksters. And she has Rahu, the north node of the moon. The north node of the moon, which is the sort of the imposter. The Rahu wears masks, right? So it can just it can be a chameleon, and she's Gemini ascendant, so she can, you know, Gemini's very it can be either or, you know,
right. Two sides.
Yeah, so she's been able to slip her way into this position, and Rahu is the foreigner, the person that would be like a white collar thief in a way, because they can put on a mask and you can watch them glitter and shine and put on a great debate and say all the right things and impress you at that superficial level. But inside, there may not be a lot of authenticity. So that's, you know, and I have no judgment. I don't know her. I don't really watch TV very much. So I'm not saying favorable or unfavorable. I'm just saying this is what I saw from a perspective from the stars, because the stars don't lie. And so she may actually be the person that ends up in office. And it's interesting because sometimes we have to go to war to purify the planet, right? And it's unfortunate, but that's the way our earth is. We live in a world of duality. We kind of have to have the good before we can have, the bad before we can have the good. So we might need to clear out some of this stuff, that all the delusions and deception and lies. And we may need her to do that. She might be that girl that is able to do it.
Let's bring it back. Let's go back. We got 3 of diamonds, Trump. What would be like a key phrase that we want to remember? Like you said 2 of clubs, the great debater. 3 of diamonds. What is it?
It's financial creativity. And it also has a primordial, which is the essence of something. It's like there's the rose, and then there's the smell of the rose, the aroma. That's the primordial. He has the essence of the king of spade. So all 3 of diamonds people have this very high, it's the God card. And it lords over a very special Stargate, which the Red King Stargate represents our country's leaders, and most countries actually, all leaders. And the Lord of that Red King Stargate is the King of Spades. So he and his King of Diamonds exaggerated self also. It all plays in. He is a great leader. He's wired to be that, a great leader. And his Kendra isn't empty, which is that diamond in the middle.
I'm a great financially creative person. I'm great. I'm very good. And I'm just saying I'm good at being financially creative. I'm a leader, the best leader. I can hear him now.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating when you say financial creativity after just having finished listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. Joe Rogan hit him pretty hard on the topic of taxes versus tariffs. And the way it's why he's the great negotiator. It is why he could write the book, The Art of the Deal. And that art of the deal is exactly about financial creativity. It really is.
Yes.
He spoke about we don't need to have income tax when you are adding tariffs to countries who are importing goods into us. Yep. I thought it was brilliant. And him being the Three of Diamonds, financial creativity, perfect. That makes really, really good sense to me. And just a comment from the peanut gallery over here, word salad. Kamala is shady is one of the guests is saying Kamala is shady. And that's the feeling that you get from somebody who doesn't have that. How did you call it in the center is a diamond? She doesn't have a lot of planets there. It's empty. It's empty. So she feels like a shell of a person, right?
She feels like she was just she kind of slipped into this position.
She did.
Through a wormhole, because I saw a lot.
Yeah. Now think about it actually politically, what happened. Like they just dropped her in to the center of this presidential election with no primaries, no nothing. Like they just dropped, and she's like going, huh, what just hit me?
Right?
It's so fascinating.
Yes. But there's no accidents. There's no such thing. So I'm just, wondering if she is here to lead us into war, because she, the Two of Clubs is literally a Mars card. Mars is the planet of war, and she's very feisty, and wherever she goes, there's lots of, warlike. She told a story during the debate, if anyone remembers, where she went to meet with some great, I forgot which country it was, but one day later, the whole country went to war. So she's like an omen and an embodiment of that. And wars can serve a purpose. A good feisty conversation and calling people out can serve a purpose. Maybe we need to purify that. So I'm not dismissing her value and or blaming her. I'm looking at it from like a cosmic perspective of who is she? She shows up. Mars went debilitated into Cancer on her birthday.
Think that instigators like herself have value because God bless Switzerland, but if you're not choosing sides, then you stand for nothing. You've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything, as the great country song goes, right? So she does have value, and that people are now opening their eyes and they're like, what is going on in our country? It's either, this or that, and they're having to choose. So she does have value. Let's go further. Let's go to the next thing. Let's look at what did you find on November 5th? And I don't know how you do it. Do you pick cards for November 5th and try to find each of these players inside of it? Or do you read for him and then you read for her? Tell us about that.
Well, it's astrology software. So since it's based on math, if you go back to, let's say the insurrection, if you went back to it today, it would be the same cards. Or if you went back into the back, even before January 6th, you'd see those same cards. So in other words, it's very math. Okay. It's very configured, and it's not random throwing of tarot cards, right? This is like your own astrology program. It's just like my Vedic astrology software, Parash was like. So I had to open all the charts. So I had to open the United States chart. I used that birthday, and then I opened Kamala's chart, and I put that on the left side. Opened Trump's chart, and that's what I do when I read for people. I put the whole family on the screen, and then I can see the connections, the karmic entanglements, and I can understand why they are all familying together and their main theme. Well, this whole thing is very interesting because when you look at Kamala on that week, she looks disappointed on November 5th, and Trump looks like he won, but it was in this very nefarious way. There was this, I guess I'll call it, there were sixes there, which kept everything in this holding pattern. The next day, our country, the Jack of Diamonds, within its own chart, goes to a black hole. So what that means is something gets hidden, something goes very wrong, because a black hole, you either go MIA or you have this massive transformation where you're completely destabilized, or there's some kind of nefarious activity. So when the Jack of Diamond goes to the black hole within its own chart, that tells me that our country is basically going to be in a shit show on the very next day after the election. Trump looks like he wins, but there's something not right about it. And then the next December, so I'm looking at my notes. December 6th, Kamala looks very disappointed. She's angry.
December 6th. December.
I'm sorry. It's November 6th. I have a mistake on my typo. So sorry.
That's
Because
okay.
all the rest of them are going to be December. So sorry, the two November 5th and 6th really is, I have to make change to that. But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. The day after the election, Kamala looks like she's very disappointed, and but something was amiss. It didn't feel like it was solid. Then by December 11th, and now we can say December. December 11th is the certification. I checked those dates in everybody's charts, and it looks like Trump is still showing the win, but doubt starts to creep in. I saw doubt creeping, and in all of their charts, and I saw Kamala feeling threatened by Trump still on December 11th, the certification. Now on the 25th, the electoral votes get received, and Trump still shows a high position, still shows hope. It still shows that he could stay in office, but there's something like a riptide there. There was, and the riptide is the 9-6, which is the black hole, and there's another dysfunctional riptide, which is I call the 2-6 of spades. And these are portals that are very unstable and sort of outside of time, so they're hard to predict, and the nodes of the moon govern them. Now, on January 3rd, Congress convenes, and it still looked like things were unstable and unsure. Both parties were realizing that there's something amiss, and something big was about to happen, and they were all on the edge of their seats in their feeling self, in their emotional body, as I was reading each chart. Now by January 6th, it doesn't look good. Okay, so I remember I should have done a video because I was going to predict the insurrection, because we had the Jack of Spades in the black hole or the blue hole, I forget, on January 6th, when that, I don't know, shit hit the fan, whatever that year was. Anyways, that I should have put something out, and I didn't, but I do see a repeat, and it's the following day. So January 6th it's not gonna bode well for our country. The next day we have a black hole, and Trump gets turned upside down. So his decanate 9 of clubs goes to the 6 of clubs, and it looks like there's a revolt, because we have a 2 of spades with that, which is one of the cards that belong to the blue hole, causing dysfunction and misunderstandings. And then there was a red king Stargate that I saw, causing instability and anger. So we still don't know at this point. All we know is something is very unfair, and nobody is agreeing on anything, and there are no answers by January 6th. Then I went to January 20th, the inauguration, and Trump's chart shows he is extremely frustrated, and he is well aware that there was some deceit, something fishy going on, and the country's chart shows secret activities, and doesn't appear that Trump gets inaugurated on that day. And it does show possibly that Kamala gets inaugurated, but I couldn't 100% tell, because she has so many layers. I had to read so many of her different layers. Now, her composite with the country was very interesting. Her 2 of clubs, star code 15, which is yours, and the country's external card, Jack of Diamonds, has a star code of 37. When you add them together, you get 52. You get the King of Spades. So it's the card of liberation. It's the God card, but it's also a wipeout card. It represents the 12th house in astrology, an end. So it's interesting that she makes that separate entity with the United States. Is she here to purify our country? I don't know. It's also lording over the Red King Stargate. So she could end up in office, or I had to look further at that JD Vader.
And also, my question is, I'm waiting to see if anybody who's watching is going to have any questions, but my question is, if there is an unknown, and I'm going to call it, I don't know what to call it, a third party involved, how would that play in?
That's what it was 3 hours I took to do all this. It was fun, and I wanted to do it. Don't worry. I had been meaning to do it, and you were the inspiration, and I kept, putting it off, because I didn't see at first glance that any good news. I kept seeing sixes, that we were stuck. There was a riptide. Nobody was going anywhere. There was confusion and deceit. And I thought, I don't really want to collude with this kind of energy, so I just kept putting it off. But when I met you, I felt like, let me get some answers here. Let's just figure this out. So I did want to look at J.D. Vance and Michael Pence, and I didn't get a chance to open their charts to see how they felt, and if it was one of them that gets inaugurated. I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to see that.
That's okay. I'm actually still thinking, I only can call it an entity. If there's a third entity, no matter who it is, would that person or entity's star code play in? If there's somebody involved in all of this that we don't know,
yes,
hasn't made their face known.
Yes. I actually track all that, and I don't know who these people are. So I want to say the Four of Spades kept coming up, and I could not figure, and this was in Kamala, and all of them actually had this interesting Four of Spades, and this is the star code of health. It represents health, and it also represents the temple of our souls, our bodies, our physical bodies, because our house is really the temple of our soul, and it also represents property. So it's a card that represents health and property. So I'm wondering if our land, if our property is up for grabs, if something's happening to our country, the land on our country. I was perplexed by that. Or are we having another pandemic? I didn't know. I saw Four of Spades was very prevalent in everyone's chart.
Let me help you with that. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on the ticket, not on the ticket. He is a large part of the Trump platform, in that his entire goal is make America healthy again, right? And his thing is to clean the land. His whole thing, I'm going to clean agriculture. I'm going to stop chemtrails. I need to clean our soil.
Love that. I love the idea of cleaning the earth.
Well, maybe you're picking up on that. I'm still wondering if there's more to it than that, but that's an interesting thing. The Four of Spades kept. I'm just wondering how unknowns can interfere with this. To be like right out there, like the idea of what you're talking about really feels, for me, really heavy. To think about another 4 years of this current administration doesn't sit well with me. So what can interfere? What if, is there anything we can do as souls?
That's a great question. So I believe that we need to stay in the eye of the storm, each of us. Don't collude with the media. Don't trust what the TV is saying and live by it, because it will make you sick. Oh, yeah. And if you can stay in this place where you know that if you stay positive and you think positive, you visualize the world that you want to live in and be the change, then only that's the only thing we have control over. Yeah. Because honestly, I don't even feel like our votes are going to matter. I feel like it's rigged.
Yeah. Well, thank you. There's also that as well. I know.
So how do we have control? They can only stay in our own lane and manifest the world we want to be in, and act that way, and not collude with negativity, and not worry too much, because it's a state of being that actually matters. This moment of being positive and happy that will affect change. It's not getting all worried and feeling like we're out of control and nothing is fair, because that is what I saw as the theme. People are feeling nothing is fair and we're out of control. And I felt like there was a civil war as I was looking at the United States chart. So I don't know if it's a civil war like back in the old days with guns and cannons, or is this some sort of a, bioweapons, or is there some sort of, 5G tower situation? I don't know. There's so many ways to have a war right now that I couldn't track it, but it felt like our country was not at peace during all of this. And then I saw spring and summer was really mostly spring. We have blue holes and black holes all over our country. So it does look like we are going through some major transformations that our country has not seen in a century or more.
Yeah. It's going to be really, really interesting. I did a podcast earlier this week on the topic of November and the kind of energies that were present. And of course, we're doing tropical astrology. You're doing Vedic. Do you want to tie this in to what you see in the Vedic?
Did I look at the Vedic chart? The Vedic chart for
did you look at the forecast according to Vedic astrology for November?
No, I didn't know because it took so long to do the chart for the card.
Yeah.
I
know.
Didn't know. I know where Pluto is. I know how it's all affecting the Vedic chart. There is a major upheaval. It's almost like a redo of 1776. So that's what we're,
very revolutionary in nature.
Yes. There's going to be some major changes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. I don't even know where to go next. And it's really a lot to absorb. I mean, and everybody who's watching, like, go back and listen again. I made notes as you were talking about the specific cards for specific people. You definitely want to find out what is your star code. What is your star code? I think that's going to be really, really helpful to you. So here, let's just really quickly, because the people who are watching this who know me are like, Tam is nothing like Kamala. Like,
no.
So explain how your star code external card might play out differently. So for Kamala Harris to be a 2 of clubs, and that's very Mars energy, and that's war energy. And then there's Tam Veilleux over here, who's a 2 of clubs. And when you say Mars energy and war energy, I have Mars energy for sure. I'm a go-getter. I'm an action taker. I'm fast. But there's other layers to me that are making a difference. So
that's a very good question, because each star code has a dark and a light side, or a favorable and an unfavorable side. How it can play out is dependent on your consciousness. On, are you a truth seeker? Are you someone that cares about the greater good? Or are you someone that treads water? You're superficial and maybe perhaps a narcissist. Now, the thing about that birthday, October 20th, interesting, Mars went debilitated on that day. I still can't get over that. And Mars is a planet of war. So that somehow keeps yelling out strongly to me that she could be who takes our country to war. But anyways, so she has a blessed card. We all get a primary blessed card, and there's 3 others, but the primary blessed card of each day is for her on 2 of clubs. And for you is it for you? Yeah, for you too, is herself. So she is her own blessing. For me, the blessing for me, I'm the 4 of hearts, is the Ace of Diamonds. Most birthdays have a separate blessing that is external from them, where they can see that something beautiful is coming toward them, and then they can be in gratitude for that thing. Now, it's okay to have your blessed card be your own self if you are a highly conscious being, where you care and you are accountable, and you're not a victim, and you're not a blamer and a shamer. You're literally someone who stands in their power and wants to serve the world with love. And when you are that consciousness, then having your own blessed card as your blessed card, or having your own natal card as your blessed card, is okay. Then that actually, you can actually shine brighter. Now hers, it feels more like there's a narcissistic tone to it, because her Kendra is empty. And when the Kendra is empty like that, and Rahu sits in the 1st house ruled by Gemini as the ascendant, it's a whole different story. Maybe she wasn't here to be a truth seeker. She's here to tread water. Internally, she can be a victim. She could be non-accountable, a blamer and a shamer, but maybe she's the perfect person with this chart to be used as a puppet so that we go to war. I don't know, but you're a highly conscious being, and I don't know what your ascendant is anyways, and I'm sure your Kendra has something in it besides the nodes of the moon. So you're not going to be playing out narcissism.
Okay, so I see how that can be different for each of us. That's really interesting. You just said something that triggered another thought around the whole election, and that is, you said you said the puppet, and my question is about the puppeteer. There are puppeteers involved in this election, and I'm wondering how so when I do astrology, I can do astrology for my business. I know the birth date and the birth time of my business. So if there is a collusion of puppeteers, and they have a birth date of probably like it's like early September 1913, their birth date, right? The puppeteers cards, won't they play out?
I'm not really sure I follow you. There's a group of people that started something on this date in 1913.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then that would be a fascinating date to begin, start the chart on and see what that day was, and then follow it from 1913 to 2024 and see,
right,
are they happy? Are they feeling blessed? Are their blessed cards showing? Are their stress cards showing? Are their shadow
right.
cards showing?
So, but
Yeah.
in general, I'm asking you, in general, isn't it true that they could be influencing? Because, here's what I feel. I'm pretty sure that America has always been a puppet for the greater puppeteers. We have never been really independent or free. We've always played over to London. And now it's sort of like our chance to have the true revolution where we actually get to be free this time.
Yes, that's I agree with all of that.
Yay. Okay, I love that we're on the same page. So the puppeteers, and there are probably more than one. I mean, you can name the families who are involved. Are their charts relative to this election? I mean, we know, you and I both know they are relative to this election.
Yeah, I mean, we could, I thought about opening up, the Rockefellers and the
Rothschilds, all of them.
Yeah, the Rothschilds and BlackRock, and there's so many people who are, eighth housey, scandalous.
Eighth housey.
Yes, they're secretive and there's scandals in the eighth house, and it's always about other people's money. So it's not a lot of authenticity. Yeah. So we could look at that date. I didn't know about that date, and we could track it going forward. This is the shadow government in a way that you think, if they started on that date, we could use that going forward and see how happy they are on the actual day of the inauguration, because
that would be a great follow-up show.
Yes.
That would be a really great follow-up show. And I bring this up in particular because I think we'll have some viewers on the show who are like you, like-minded, like you and I. They're of the light. They understand there's something more going on, but they don't quite get it. So I'm bringing this up so that we can all have hope. None of this means that Trump doesn't get elected. None of this means that there's a win in the direction that we don't want it to go. Hold out hope, because there are other factors in play. I think we've just named them. And I think it would just be an interesting follow-up show to really look at these other influences. So whoosh, this was a lot. Is your throat sore? Mine is.
No, it's not. I've been drinking tea all morning, so I was having fun. This is my kind of thing, talking the star language.
Yeah, the star language. It's pretty important. It's pretty powerful. Okay, we're going to wrap this up in a pretty little bow. This is fascinating. I called this show Light Talk because I want to bring the light. I want to be sure that everybody understands, for every bad, there's a good. For every dark, there is a light, and we are the light. And I always say everything is unfolding perfectly, and I truly believe that. Everything is always unfolding to benefit you. Yes. Your job is to be responsive, responsible, and non-reactionary. We're in a week coming up where your reaction has got to be tempered. Truth-telling will occur in God's proper time, not in ours, and we have to be patient with it and manage our vibrations. And I mean that fully and completely from my heart. These are exciting times. You should be nothing but thrilled to know that God's plan is coming to an end. Get your popcorn and put on your slippers and find a friend, phone a friend. I got mine on speed dial. And I just got a comment here, like, great show. I need to listen to it again to soak it in. And it's true. I will listen to it again and I will soak it in. And I recommend, like, do you do readings for people? How does this work so that people can work with you, Karen?
Well, thank you for asking that. Yes, I do readings for people, and I can help them with whatever questions they have. They want to know what their soul purpose is, what career would be best. Are they getting married? When will they find love? Is someone cheating, or is there a divorce, or is there an impending new job coming, or a raise, or a relocation? All these are really things I can shine light on, but also I'm really good at relationship composites, understanding why you met people, why some turn sour, and why you keep having patterns of meeting certain people, and understanding the flavor of each person, like, because I can do the composite and add like I did with Kamala and the country, the composite between the Jack of Diamonds and the Two of Clubs. The country and Kamala makes the King of Spades. Very fascinating. So so I can tell you what your composite is with your beloved, and that will help you understand why you're together. Soul contracts come up.
Soul contracts. Wow. That is some amazing work. I've put it in the chat already, but we want to say your URL, your website, please.
Oh, it's 52starcodes.org. Just the number 52starcodes.org.
Do you have a newsletter?
I do. Yeah, sign up, and you can win a raffle. I pick one person a month to give a free 30-minute reading.
Woo! I'm going to sign up myself. Although I'm pretty sure you've given me a free reading. It's pretty cool. Okay, this has been remarkable for me, for Tam. Please tap the bell to subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, tap the bell to subscribe. And then please, your comments add to the algorithm. So if you can add some comments, add some feedback, tell us what you want to know, because I think we're going to do this once a month. This is what, and I'm talking like, I want to go global. I want to talk about what's going on in the country, and we'll pick specific leaders, because before you came on the call, I was talking about the soul wound, Chiron in Aries, from Western astrology, Chiron in Aries, and what that leadership wound is inside of society right now. And so talking about Kamala as a leader, Trump as a leader, and understanding they have their own personal wounds and how their wounds might affect the country. It's all fascinating. So we'll pick leaders. We'll pick leaders that you can read and talk about, and whatever else people want to hear about. So this has been an amazing, more than an hour. Thank you so much for your time.
You're
welcome. Anything else you need, or any last final thoughts? Are you good?
Well, I think what would be very helpful is if everybody radiated love and light to the planet Mars. And you don't even have to, if you don't believe in planets or astrology, then that's okay. If you instead radiate love and light to whatever you feel is your adversary, because Mars is the embodiment of war and passion. So whatever you feel passionate about, that passion can be good or bad. So you don't have to use the word Mars, but so Mars is just representing the embodiment of a feeling, which is either anger or passion, and it's lit up, it's driven, it's got ambition. Yep. So visualize something that represents that. If you're brilliant. Not an astrologer, you can see it through different lenses, but still open your heart and send healing, love, and light to that planet, because that planet, and this is stuff sometimes I channel, it is afflicted, it is wounded. And it is a wounded planet, and something is wrong with it, and its energy, its vibrations, and the way it shines down on Earth is sending sort of twisted. It's causing our planet. There's repercussions from Mars's wounds. Okay, so we need to work with. That's almost like if you have a bad neighbor who's always sticking his tongue out at you every time you walk out the door, nana poo poo, just a mean guy. The way you deal, you get more honey with flies, right? Or is that what? Yeah.
You get more.
Wait, you know what I meant?
Yeah, I did know what you mean.
You catch more flies with honey. That's what I meant.
Than vinegar. To tie this into like my almanac readers, like I just said, Chiron is in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is wounded right now. You just said it. Mars is wounded.
Yes.
And we are feeling the wound collectively. So our job is to nurse it. And we're nursing it through light. This is Light Talk Podcast. We're sending our light to Mars, or the idea of Mars and everything that embodies. And that's beautiful that you brought it up. And maybe we can end every show with, where are we sending our light this month? right?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yes.
Great idea. So I love that. I think it's perfect. I think we're there. I think that is a really nice way to wrap up the show. So I am who I am. This show is brought to you by the letters U and I. I am who I am because you are who you are. You and I are one. So
Yes.
thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful November. We'll see you on the next podcast. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.